You there? That's right, I'm talking to you, you sad son of a b.
Are you growing tired of that monochromatic monotony you call your life? Wishing there was more to that life than being crushed beneath the heel of big government's subsidized boot? Well, with the help of two developers generously funding this public service announcement directly into your retinas, you'll now know of the solution to your woes. And it's quite a simple one at that. Simply inject paint directly into your veins. You suddenly seem not nearly as on board with this. Allow me to pull you back in. Feeling a bit more convinced? Good, but don't get too excited just yet. After all, this highly advanced and very complicated technique can't just be mastered by any random schmuck who just so happens to find themselves down a sewer tunnel to evade law enforcement. It's gotta be someone strong, someone willing to do what's right while blindly following resistance propaganda, and also, preferably, someone with an above-average tolerance to lead, though that one is really less mandatory. So don't ask questions and get to infusing your inhumanly large hands with all the colorful colors of the rainbow. Except for orange. Orange knows what it did. Any long-term effects haven't been studied yet, but it's probably nothing you'll be around long enough to worry about. What do I mean by that? Well, turns out fighting a highly militarized janitorial government ain't all sunshine and rainbows. But getting back to those rainbows, and the colors it contains, and the abilities those colors grant, and the utility of those abilities, started rambling there. Allow me to cover the colors in their order of appearance on an actual rainbow, for convenience. Yellow is your typical, short-range concussive burst, useful for blasting paint particles directly into the chest of the second group of federal agents disguised as door-to-door salesmen on my porch. First cookies, and now mattresses? I mean, arrest warrant. My current bed is just fine for resting. Thank you very much. Plus, it's got quite a bit of a kick to it, both for you and the poor underpaid grunt on the receiving end of your palm. This recoil is convenient for propelling yourself forward, and this dual use of movement and murder is a recurring trend with all the abilities. For example, red, firing off a steady stream of bullets that infuse the target with red. Kinda like when a cartoon character gets really angry, with the pressure building more and more until they explode. As for its movement utility, it allows for this. Moving along the rainbow is purple, and as for the ability, well, have you by chance read The Magic Finger by critically acclaimed author Roald Dahl? No? Well, that's good, because it's actually nothing like that besides the finger bit. Basically, point at something and a disc will be launched out from the tip of the finger. This pointing can even be charged up for improved disc circumference. And it can be used as a platform after it's been embedded into a wall. Pretty situational, but it's certainly something. Something like the next color in line, being blue. Blue is definitely an ability. I mean, it's basically a fancy trampoline, but going up has its uses. And I'm totally not purposefully underselling this ability to reveal anything later on. Now, the last but not least color on the rainbow is naturally, say it with me, green. Of all the abilities, I say that green sits closest to the center when it comes to a mix of violence and mobility, providing a hardened crystalline shield on the arm that can be used to bulldoze through threats and concrete walls while also building momentum, along with a shield bash of sorts that can backhand enemies and give a small forward push. And with the final color sorted, we've got ourselves a perfect rainbow. Might also be a good time to mention all these abilities have really clever music or audio-based names. Though if my poor audio mixing didn't give it away already, I have no idea what any of these things are. Oh, except for BitCrush. I know that one. Anyways, congratulations. You've learned the basics and can now follow this sketchy stranger through the sewers to be introduced to the resistance movement. It's here at this super secret hideout that you'll meet a colorful cast of characters. Not literally, as they're all varying shades of gray, but instead they're colorful personalities. Like the rough and tough, battle-hardened leader of the resistance, Fat Cap, the shade-wearing, cool hair-having guy that is Hot Rod, or this old granny, who'll patch up your injuries if you plummet to your death, and who also has a list of war crimes longer than the average Somali warlord. Also turns out that sketchy stranger was actually just a sketchy salesman, who sells what I can only assume are genetic modifications to improve your body and abilities for a small fee of monopoly money. More importantly, though, is proving your worth to the cause, which comes in the form of collecting high-quality vinyls. For those of the younger generation, I'm sure this oversized CD might seem strange to you, but this is what was used during the Stone Age to enjoy the soothing sounds of Nickelback. With that quick little history lesson over, it's off to the average mall goth stomping grounds. Allow me to give a rundown on getting those grotesquely huge hands on some vinyls, of which there are a couple ways of going about it. One such way is getting a job. Spread across the many different areas are these convenient little job terminals, set up by a possibly dubious corporation, though their CEO seems friendly enough. The terminal tasks will of course vary, with such things like destruction of private property, retrieval of private property, the floor is lava, and jumping through hoops like a good dog. There's also my two favorites, grabbing the different types of graffiti in the area and reaching the top of tall buildings without the use of abilities. But this only rewards a single measly vinyl. We're trying to go gold, or even obtain platinum, which is where our local resistance residents come into play. Find them, or the silly little monitors containing them, around the map to begin their game, with each member having a unique type of challenge. Some are naturally heavily movement-based, and believe it or not, you'll actually have to put in the effort if you want to secure platinum and the 3 vinyls that come with it. So this is a perfect time to mention a certain quirk about the blue ability. At first, it may seem like it's only good for going up, but that's because you're not looking at it from the right angle, which is to say any angle that isn't completely horizontal, as the push force depends entirely on the slope of the surface. As for the other side of the challenge coin, I'm sure it'll come as no surprise that it's combat. Racking up points by slaughtering hundreds of feeble, and also not so feeble grunts. They work for the government, so you're completely justified in your actions. Simply ignore the blood on your hands, or use it as a substitute for the red 40 you've been pumping through your veins. There's even Greg, a low-level grunt who will purposefully call in fake reports just to give you more fresh meat for the slaughter. Is he sick and twisted in the head, or is this just the average mindset to somebody working under the AVAF? Which is to say the Anti-Vandal Attack Force, who came into power after the collapse of CITTI. The AVAF is basically a bunch of militarized janitors, whose crowning achievement was inventing industrial strength bleach, a powerful concoction you'll have the misfortune of experiencing firsthand if you're not careful. But before I get sidetracked on something silly like world building, there's one more type of challenge, which is to simply be fucking ballin'. Turns out these disgustingly enormous hands are perfect for firmly grasping basketballs, so get to shooting some hoops from as far away as possible, or just grab 2 at once and become the ball. Of course, there's yet still more ways of getting vinyls, like secrets. So many goddamn secrets. Destroy walls, floors, valuable water infrastructure, government property, and more. It's also important to note you've actually got the ability to place stickers. Extra vandalism points aside, there's secret sigils found all over the place that can be activated by placing these stickers. This is mentioned maybe twice in easily missable information kiosks. There's also the sketchy salesman, or boogie, who can be found in each location, this time selling art, more upgrades, and of course vinyls. Now, onto the best way to get vinyls, cash, and all the dopamine you'll ever need in life. That's right, baby, it's gambling. Spin it to win it. Double your savings with this one easy trick. Don't stop till you drop. And that's sort of it in terms of the main focus of the game. Collect the big CDs while getting closer with all the cool characters, like Nortek, a strange fella who I might not fully understand the words of, but I can feel his passion. He requests we retrieve all his lost cassette tapes, which is only a couple, so no worries. For those of the younger generation, a cassette tape is used for another side task of sorts is cataloging all the different graffiti painted across the many flat surfaces of these locations for BB. What's the big reward behind this door for finding them all? Well, I won't spoil it, so find out for yourself. There's also a similar door behind Boogie, needing every single vinyl to open it. Now you're probably thinking I won't tell you what's behind it for spoiler reasons, but that's not true. I won't tell you, cause I don't know either. I can't find all the goddamn vinyl. On the topic of all this cool graffiti, I bet you're wondering how it got there. First of all, there's no need to worry about absorbing it because it's all done with 100% lead-free paint. I checked. I mean, it was more of a cursory glance, but it's probably fine. As for how it got there, well, that'd be the work of the Taggers, a group of super secret street artists who've been lost to time. And now it's up to you to catalog their legacy and discover their history. Or not, you know. Being smart and curious wasn't exactly one of the requirements for this position. You can simply live in blissful ignorance, enjoying your place among the resistance. Unless something sinister is brewing beneath the surface and flowing through the pipes below. Better pick up the pace and make tracks. Anyways, that's the game. Now, one very minor nitpick of mine is the way abilities can feel required for either combat or movement. Sure, every single one has a bit of use in both, but not using something like yellow or blue for movement challenges is practically shooting yourself in the foot, and sometimes discourages one from using the graffiti grab mechanics during gameplay. Thankfully, the upgrade system smooths a lot of this out, and obtaining near infinite flight with this color combo is incredibly funny. I also wouldn't say it detracts from the overall gameplay experience all that much. So, with all that said, I'd like to thank the two developers of this game for sponsoring this video. I'm unsure if I'll take sponsors often, but as I already had interest in the game, this worked out perfectly. Be sure to check the game out if it looks interesting to you, and maybe you'll even manage to beat a single one of the dev times for the challenges, which I took one look at and immediately decided to never attempt. And of course, I'd like to thank my patrons for supporting me, with special thanks to my top tier patrons, Rhodey, Meyer Loon, and Yuval, which I suppose is all my patrons. I'm already growing slightly worried about having to read out names, but I've dug my own grave. So if you'd like to experience that, along with having your name at the end here, getting access to these videos a day before they release, video updates and early previews, or to simply support the channel, then do consider checking out my Patreon. With all that said and done, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again. Also, for legal reasons, please don't actually inject paint into your veins.